Alright, get ready for my setup and alternatives, and I'll also show you the boss team. First, some has questioned if I was free to play. As you can see, I am free to play. I've just been min-maxing for 900 days plus. So the new requirements means there's going to be a lot of new people, and I'll try to accommodate, but this version of Cursed Realm Burning Brood is very hard for free to play. You need a very diverse hero pool. Don't lose hope if you get a low score. I'll try to help you if I can. Okay guys, I'm just going to show you top 1's team so you have a reference point for teams I used and the additional alternative options I will show you. So he's using the Quen setup with the Great Bonds. And here he already has Moral in as a chat, which I don't have, and of course he's using Scarlet. This team is almost impossible for me to make. It's the hardest one for me. This one I'm really close, except for Saffron. And here's the kind of standard setup with Halos and Talene. The boss team is most likely using something like this, maybe with Luca instead of Warwick. Alright, so for my teams, you can see I have 5.3 billion damage and I'm at top 6. First team is almost the same, but with Damon and Hodgkin. The key investments you want for this setup is Qren's signature item 30. If you don't know, it helps with the stun. It only takes one regular attack to launch a stun. Second one is Malthus Mythic. You want his signature item 20 because it deals a little bit AoE damage. Otherwise, the engravings on Odin will help with his CC. Also, Hodgkin could use engravings in the future for his CC, and Damon works without engravings. Second team, I'm using Scarlet, and this team is probably one of the meta teams for this round. Key investments for this setup would be to invest in Scarlet. Her damage pops off at her signature item 3 out of 9. You also want her 30 and engrave her to get some insights. The first insight points can help as she also has a passive CC. You also want some engravings on Greshel, who works at signature item 20 and it's 9 out of 9 helps, but he's not really dealing damage. So for this setup you don't need it. Twins can get some points of haste with the engravings 33. If you don't have Scarlet, I'll show you some alternatives later. Okay, so this is by far the hardest team. I really struggled making it work. I can't really get higher damage than this. If you have Enchantra or Citrana, you might get higher damage. Investment for this one is tricky as my team doesn't work, so I'm gonna skip this one. Alright, so for this one I'm using a Merc a star. The meta is with Saffron instead of a star, but I found really good damage. But this team is going to be very hard to make work for free to play, as you need a lot of engravings for this to work. You need Mishka 60 for her heals and to stun with Insight. Don't think you need a star's engravings that much, but you need. Don't use Leonardo da Vinci unless you have some engravings on him. You can use him, but he's not going to be that effective without engravings. This setup is also kind of hard to change. If you really want damage, you need Hageless. But as you can see, he works fine at lower ascensions. Higher the better, of course. And for my boss team, I'm using this variation. Investment for the boss fight is also a bit tricky. I would say you should invest in Lucretia. So you can really use a lot of investment, and she will help you out both PvP and in campaign. The other heroes kind of don't need that much investment to work. You could of course invest in Saurus to get some higher damage. Be careful in investing in him as he's kind of fading out of the meta a little bit. I'm going to show you some alternatives for some better budget teams. First fight, you can use Isabella and Baden. There isn't really much of a budget team for this one, as you need Quen and Mortis for this to work really good. It can work without Odin, but it makes it harder. Fight 2, here's a non-Scarlet setup with Damon and Thorn, and of course Grieth. So if you remember, I couldn't really make Fight 3 work with my hero pool. But here's an example of a team you could build if you have these heroes. You can also try to build this one if it fits your hero pool better. Here's an alternative to Fight 4. It's really hard to make a viable alternative, but maybe you can get some damage with this team. Fight 5 is also hard for free-to-plays, but maybe you can make this work. I know it's not free-to-play at all, but sorry I don't have any alternatives. So with this last fight, you can see my comp on the left and substitutes on the right. Try to switch some of those in to make it work for you. Thanks for watching, and I hope you get a higher score with this video.